Sandeep Bhatia is head of equity, India, and country head at Macquarie Group. Sandeep, good to have you with us here. Good morning. Thanks very much for your time. Just starting with the entire EMS space, the electronic manufacturers, and a flurry of initiations, etc. Do you guys have coverage at Macquarie on these names, and what do you like there? At the margin, it also does seem to be that from just assembly, players are moving on to more value-added stuff. Go on.
Yeah, we have limited coverage there. We, of course, like the sector. And the real challenge is not, whether in the next 1 or 2 years we'll see expansion. I think the value-added portion, as you just mentioned, is critical. And the biggest chunks of value-added are mostly in semiconductors and optics, whether it's laptops or whether it is phones. So I think on that front, India is still some time away. And it would take at least 5+ years for some of this to come to India. And even there, the technology and the level of manufacturing and the kind of work which is done in Taiwan, I think even the US is over a decade away. So this will take time, in our view. It's right now just a question of the fact that this opportunity never existed in India, and it's come. So that's a good thing. And the stocks are essentially flying on the fact that this opportunity is now getting realized.
By the way, Devyani International, we were talking about that. It's now at a fresh 52-week high. So, that stock is up almost about, I think 5% right now. It's up 25% this year. Consumption is coming back in a big way. There are, of course, a lot of big events as well, like the World Cup, etc. But give and take everything, this has been a very good month for Devyani International. Now at 220 rupees, 52-week high. PBR Inox is at a fresh 52-week high as well, 1850 over there. And a couple of others. Indian Hotels is at a fresh 52-week high. So consumption across the board is doing very well. Sandeep, hi, morning. How are you feeling about the mid-caps in general? If you had high amount of exposure here, is this a time to be a bit cautious, or do you think that there is a long runway?
Well, I think we are at that inflection point of geopolitics meeting global finance as far as India is concerned, and therefore everything that has some announcement around it, or some potential, potential government policy to promote it is moving. Should I invest right now? I would definitely be cautious. I think on these counts, I would look at value in sectors which have actually lagged. So I would definitely want to look at some of this. The entire mid-cap space, in fact, has really moved very fast in the last 2 months, especially. And we could see some more activity going forward. But for a longer-term investor who has a time horizon of at least 2 years, I think it's time to be cautious.
Time to be cautious. Okay, saying it out as clearly as it gets. Sandeep, good morning. Surabhi here. Good to be chatting with you today. So while, we take that advice on board, where are you getting, if I could say maybe a little uncomfortable right now? One of the biggest debates is on this entire manufacturing space where perhaps the longer term tailwinds are in place and we have seen a lot of spending, but then stock prices have also moved up. So is it CapEx, capital goods, manufacturing? Is that an area of concern, or is it something else?
So to say that something is an area of concern, per se, I think would be overstating your bearish or cautious case. There are, on a macro level, there are no concerns. If the stock has gone up 20% in the last 2 months or so, then clearly there is a concern on valuations. Is there necessarily a concern on the business model? I would definitely be concerned when there is no business model and there are fantastic billion-dollar valuations which are ascribed just to some business. And that clearly is something which one wants to reconsider. But the real issue is that right now, if you look at some of the large sectors, like banks have probably given their best performance in terms of numbers. The stock prices may still continue to move, which they should, because we are not in any down cycle. We are probably not even at the peak of the best part of the cycle. We are mid-cycle for banks. And to that extent, one can continue to remain invested. Pharma, again, suddenly after a couple of years, people have started looking at it. But again, I'm more cautious because it's more event-based. But yes, pharma is something which one could definitely look at. The real beaten down pack which people should look at is the IT sector. And here there are good quality names which clearly have not performed and not been investors' favorites. So I think it's time to actually look at some of these underperforming sectors and names.
Large cap IT, I presume, right, Sandeep? Because mid caps have just done very well for themselves.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, got that. What about power as a space? There seems to be a real case many are making that even as we kind of completely over the next many years move away to only building renewable capacity, we are at a point where that it's too big a jump to make immediately. So you will need new thermal capacity as well in the interim, and that the opportunity could be large. I mean, so we saw that announcement from NTPC. I think we'll see more. So just wanted your thoughts there.
So the entire manufacturing sector, construction sector, which requires steel, all these are in it. Even the services sector, in fact, artificial intelligence and everything also requires power. So I think the old-fashioned power is definitely there for the next 10 years, if not 20 years, honestly. That's why we see the global oil prices still remain firm. While, the green energy transition is happening, the case for that in terms of wholesale transformation of the power sector is definitely overstated in all countries per se. So I think for the next 10 years, for a country like India, we have no option but to rely on thermal power, and to that extent that sector definitely will see volume growth and expansion.
Okay. Any other spaces, Sandeep, where you think that there is both price appreciation, valuation headroom, as well as growth coming back in a big way? Something that you can look at for the next 12 to 18 months?
I think the only sector which has some headroom and growth and price appreciation with much less risk is actually the banking sector. So all the private sector banks, HDFC Bank, which has been underperformer, can be looked at. I think next year it should definitely do much better. And that is one sector. The other sector probably is definitely the large cap IT sector. That is something which has actually surprised many in terms of the way it continues to be such a big underperformer. So I think we will see some inflows into the sector over the next couple of months, but it will be patient money which can wait for 2 years.
Okay, got that. Sandeep, one theme in the market has been rock solid PSU moves, and we've seen that across the board. Even PSU banks, I mean, they've done better than their private sector counterparts. A lot of the railway stocks, defense, etc. As we get into election season, could populist spending or any kind of populist moves become a bit of a risk for the market as a whole, or for PSUs in general? What's your sense on PSUs after this rally?
I think PSUs are coming back into fashion after a very long time. I think this unfortunately in India is a large part of the sector, a large part of the economy, and even potentially of the market, but which gets always, especially in the energy sector, they dominate. But they always trade at single-digit valuations. So my short answer is I don't see populism at the central level to damage valuations or the earnings story of these businesses. Populism is happening at the state level, but that will actually impact state finances. It won't affect the PSU businesses, whether it's banks or other PSU organizations. The only challenge is that we need policy clarity and stability for the longer term. And that even now, I think people don't have the confidence, even if the government, even if the BJP comes back to power again. And that is a major long-term challenge to valuations of this sector. And if that changes, that's a different thing. But I'm not betting on that. So to that extent, these are cyclical India story, India flavor moments which happen, and when they come in. I hope that continues for more than a year or so, because historical experience has been that these kind of moments are mostly short-lived.
Okay. Got that. Sandeep, good talking to you as always. Thank you very much for taking out the time and joining us on the show today. We look forward to the next chat.